Hello, how are
Hi.
you?
Doing okay. How are you?
Oh, my doggy died last week, so I'm like actually really sad, but I'm
I'm
hanging
so
there.
sorry.
I know. It
That's really
happens.
hard.
It is hard. It is hard. Like she's my best friend, so yeah, I feel a big empty space now.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about you? How are you doing?
Yeah, I've been better. But we're getting back to things. I don't know if I don't know if Daniel mentioned, but it was just like another concussion related setback. So, yeah.
Did you
But
get a second concussion?
it's actually my third since December. So,
Oh my gosh, girlfriend, you can
yeah.
die from that. Like if you have one concussion right after another, it can kill you. So
Yeah, it's
you should
not.
be wearing a little helmet or something now.
Yeah, it's not a second impact syndrome. Like that wasn't a concern.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I wasn't doing any high risk activities or anything. So
Yeah.
just I have a high level of sensitivity now, I guess.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, take care of yourself.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here despite that, although it might not be the best thing for your health.
It's okay. It's been 2 weeks, or yeah, over 2 weeks. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Sammy, are we I'm just gonna start. I'll hand it over to you. You can screen share. Sammy, we'll need to make both of us co-hosts.
Okay,
And that's about it. It'll be obvious where you jump in and then
great.
and then you'll send it back to me when you're done. I'll do some wrap up and talk about version two and some of the other
Okay,
stuff we're doing and or actually version two, then we'll open for questions and then we'll have the other stuff that we'll be doing.
okay. I just wanted to ask you real quick before we start. Are you touching at all on like the current improvements that are going on, or is it more like future state? Okay,
I'm
I
just
was I
thinking
was
about
hoping to
very
touch on that.
future. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm doing very
okay,
future. So yeah, I'll leave you with
okay. Cool.
whatever you want to talk about for that for sure.
Great. Yeah, I figured that might be the only overlap that I might have not mentioned in my email this morning. So
Yeah, I'm pretty vague with my conversation because I figured you'd be going into like more
yeah.
specific stuff. So yeah,
Okay. Cool. Sounds good.
this is my second presentation today.
Oh wow.
Can I let everyone in?
Oh yeah, yeah, I said yeah, yeah. Sorry, I thought I'd said that, but maybe only in my
You
head.
maybe did, and I just didn't hear it.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Desiree. See a lot of names here. I know. Jim, you do and Carolyn, I should start charging subscriptions. Yeah, I see you guys in every single one. I love it. You think you're
There's
like paid actors, you're in every scene.
there's there's so much to learn, and growing up on a farm, just silly things that I can compare with my dad. Now, my dad, when he planted corn on the farm, uh, I remember when I was 7, I looked into the seed bin before he drove out to the back field, and it was all coated in red seeds. And yet he had other stuff that he did made sense. He never planted anything until after the last full moon in May.
Oh, okay.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, no, he used the moon. Yes.
Yeah. So that's definitely still going on that we do that,
Oh,
right?
I hope so.
Yep. Yep. All right. So I know Sammy's going to keep letting people in, but I want to get into this conversation as quickly as possible because we do have a lot that we want to cover with you today. And this will also be recorded, so it'll be up on YouTube. And if you miss out on anything, you can always check back in with that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let's see. All right. Are you guys able to see my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And a huge thank you also to our partners with the AskAgriWise uh, organic data portal, Purpose Analytics. Maya and Daniel are joining us today. And I'm Erica Shelley, so I'm the Executive Director of Ontario Organic. And the majority of faces I see here today I recognize, so most of you already know me and I know you, which is awesome. Today we're really excited to introduce Ask AgriWise, which is Canada's first national organic data portal. And this project really came out of simple frustration for many of us in the sector that we've had for years, which is that organic data exists, but it's scattered everywhere or not shared. And it's hard to find, it's hard to compare, and it's often hard to actually use in a meaningful way. And so we received some funding through the Canadian Agricultural Partnership, and we worked with our partners at the Prairie Organic Development Fund on the Ask AgriWise National Data Portal. Before we get started today, though, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the Indigenous nations whose lands we're all joining from today. And organic agriculture is deeply connected to land stewardship, relationships, and long-term care of ecosystems. And it's important to recognize the long-standing knowledge and stewardship of Indigenous communities across these territories. So I'd like to ask if you'd like, if you could take a moment to drop in the comments your own land acknowledgement. I know we have people coming across Canada to join us today, so if you can drop that there. And also if you can just let us know where you're coming from and why you're interested in learning about Ask AgriWise. So, anyone who's newer to us, you might have formerly known us as the Organic Council of Ontario. Ontario Organic is really a grassroots network where we bring together farmers, businesses, researchers, advocates, and eaters to help strengthen the organic sector in Ontario and beyond. And a lot of the work, if you haven't been paying attention, is really about collaborating. How can we work with other groups to improve? We are really into education, of course, advocacy, and increasingly data and sector intelligence. So that gets us right into talking about the issues with organic data. So this really was the core problem that we started with, that organic data is everywhere. There's certifiers, Stats Canada data sets, commodity pricing, sources, surveys, directories, reports, industry data. But there really wasn't a central place to pull all that information together, that one-stop shopping kind of idea. And even when that data existed, it was really often difficult to compare because the formats were inconsistent and the data wasn't really structured in a way that made it easy to search or visualize. And so that, when you see a problem like that, the best things about problems like that is that it gives you a lot of opportunity to improve. And and so because a lot of that data already exists, we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. Really, at the end of the day, our job was aggregation, which means pulling in from lots of different places into one central location, and then organizing it, mapping it, and making it accessible. And so the question really is, how do you take fragmented organic data and turn it into something practical and usable for the entire sector? So every week, I started working with Maya and Daniel from Purpose Analytics, and they're our partners for this project. And we basically were investigators, and we would, there would be another email that I'd send out or another meeting that we'd get into, and slowly we started picking at these pieces and finding all these places where we could bring these data sets together. And so at the end of the day, we have what we called Ask AgriWise. And it is a national organic data portal. and it is aggregated. You can search it, and it is interactive, and it will become more interactive over time. And most importantly, this is designed for the organic sector itself. Like it's not for all of the other sectors. It is very much specific to organics in Canada. So producers, businesses, researchers, certifiers, policymakers, and those eaters, they all need different kinds of information, and we wanted to start building an infrastructure that supports those needs. And honestly, this turned out to be a much bigger challenge than we originally expected. When the grant was originally written, there was an expectation that we would have complete access to certifying body data and through the CFIA, and that has not happened, and it may not happen for a little while. And the other data sources that out there were fragmented, meaning they're just like in little pieces that didn't make a lot of sense together. And there were lots of gaps, and so there just wasn't that data available. So Maya is actually going to go much deeper into the actual data challenges and what we discovered during that process, because a lot of the work that had to be done was into cleaning up that data, aligning it, getting it all so it fits and talks to each other in a story that you can understand, and structuring all of that information together. And the important piece is what you guys see as a website. But the project is really a lot more than building a website. The website making part of it actually was fairly small compared to getting all of these pieces of data. And so behind the scenes work was, finding those sources and quality. Is it good data? Can we use it? And so Maya, again, I'm going to hand it over to her, but she's going to talk about the specific sources we started with and which ones made it into version one. And then we're going to also talk about some of those roadblocks that showed up. And one of the biggest things we learned also is just how much opportunity exists in organic data, and but the inconsistencies and those gaps were really important. In my first week, this was a year and a half ago, a little over a year and a half ago at Ontario Organic. I was in a room with all of the commodity groups in Ontario. So you've got, your milk board and aquaculture, like everything, fruits and veg, you can imagine all of the different ones. And we're sitting there with our premier and our Minister of Agriculture, and we were asked to talk about our organic sector or about our commodity sector. And everyone around that table was able to talk about how many jobs there were, how much was exported, the revenue, and about the people that were part of their industry. And when they got to me, I didn't have any of that data available. And so now I have some of that data available. Is it as great as the other commodity groups yet? No. And we're going to continue working on that. But really is those data gaps, they're part of that challenge of the project itself because it helps us identify where future collaborations can happen. And also when we are talking to these other partners, why we need to have those gaps filled and why it's so important for the sector. And so I want to also mention that there is work happening at the federal level with the Canadian Organic Alliance. And so Canadian Organic Alliance includes OFC and CODA and COG, and they're working directly with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency StatsCan at AFCC to access that data and fill in a lot more of those gaps that need to be filled in. But because there were so many gaps when we started this project, we realized that we weren't going to be able to even do some of the graphs and stuff that we would want to share with people. And so we realized that we decided we could just go directly to the people in the value chain themselves. And so we created a really extensive national organic survey with hundreds of questions covering production, markets, labor, certifications, challenges, opportunities, and business decisions, like all of these questions that you could possibly imagine. And we put them all in one survey. And we weren't really sure, what the uptake would be like. And when I went in a few weeks ago, we had over 215 responses, and that's mostly from Ontario. And we have been blown away by the response. And the thing that really has helped with us getting these monthly, or with getting these responses, is that we have sponsor each month that will generously provide a prize to one person who has participated in it. And if you do this, it only comes out once a year, or you're only supposed to answer it like once a year. So once you've answered it for the year, you're in for the prize draw for every single month. And that really motivated people to fill out the survey. You never know. But if you look here, you can see that out of those 215 responses that we had, 143 of those were certified. Um, 6 or 3% were in transition, 24% were not certified, and 7% had previously been certified. So we're actually getting a lot of information from all sorts of people in the industry. So it's great for us to have that. And originally, this survey was really only intended to help fill temporary data gaps within the project. But it's now become quickly clearer that it's much bigger than that, and it will stay around for a very long time. And it's allowing us to do some standardization in the industry, and it can actually inform policy decision, allows us to understand how the industry is changing year to year. It helps us identify what the challenges there are and how people feel about there's not a lot of surveys that say, hey, do you like your certifier? And if you don't, or do you have issues, what are they? And those are included in our survey as well. And we can actually add custom questions annually as well to explore new issues as they emerge. And I think Sammy, she's got a QR code here that you can just click with your phone if you want to actually answer, look at that survey. And then she'll actually drop a link there too, which you can save later. Don't do it right now. But we would love for you to take that survey. So while AskAgriWise itself started as a data portal project, the survey itself has really become one of the most exciting and valuable pieces of work as well. So at this point, I'm going to hand things over to Maya and Daniel from Purpose Analytics, who have been incredible partners throughout this project. And Purpose Analytics, they work with nonprofits and organizations to help them better understand, use, and harness the power of their data while also building long-term data capacity within sectors and organizations. So they were a perfect fit for this project. And they've really played a huge role in helping bring Ask AgriWise to life, from the data structure and integration side through the platform itself that you'll see. They're going to walk you through the demo and some of the deeper data work behind the project. So I'm going to hand that off to you now, Maya, and I'll stop sharing my screen here.
Great. Thank you, Erica. I'm just gonna go over and share my screen. If everyone can let me know that they see it.
You're good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit to start just about the data a little bit more than what Erica touched on, and a little bit more about our process in terms of that data acquisition piece that Erica talked about, because that really was one of our big pieces of work coming to this project and trying to identify all the pieces of data that we were able to access in the organic sphere right now, and how we were going to bring all that together. So it kind of looked like, I feel like probably a pretty standard data acquisition process. We started with identifying existing data sources that we already knew were out there, or like doing some research in terms of what is already public and available to folks in the organics. So we looked at sources of information at the federal, provincial, and industry levels. And what we mean by that is, like certifying bodies, other people that are producing like organic information. So when we first came to the AskAgriWise project, Erica was receiving data from AAFC regarding trade, import and export, and was also talking to the dairy farmers of Ontario, I believe, and was getting information from them. We also looked into obviously options available to us at Statistics Canada. But from there, there's only so much we could do in terms of what we already knew was out there and the research that we'd done. So there was a phase of having conversations with other provincial bodies, other government bodies, and the certifying bodies as well, about what else is out there and what is available, what we could potentially do and bring together in AskAgriWise. The third step of the process came from that piece that Erica touched on, which was the certifying bodies provide data to CFIA, but there's a work in progress to standardize the reporting process to the CFIA. But because of that work in progress, we aren't able to access the data through CFIA from the certifying bodies. So what we ended up doing was building a process to scrape the data, which is an automated collection of the data that's already published by the certifying bodies on their websites. It's all public information. We just automated a collection process for that data to bring it all together for AskAgriWise. And then finally, after all of this work, we started consolidating all this data together into these themes that were starting to emerge, trying to organize it in a way that would start to tell a little bit of a story about the organic sector. So it involved a lot of trying to standardize the data across the different data sets, merging it, and putting it together in kind of a consistent format for us to use in AskAgriWise going forward. So here are some data sources that we identified in that second step of the process, and some that we originally identified but didn't end up panning out, but it was an area of exploration for us. So we had, like I mentioned before, organic import-export data from AAFC, which is, I believe, actually tabulated for them from StatCan, so from a product at StatCan. We also had access to Ontario organic milk data. We were aware of, obviously, a partner of Ontario Organic, the Grain Hub by Organic Manitoba Organic, which is their national grain pricing hub that exists. We were aware of various market reports that were available for purchase that explored consumer data a little bit more. And then the certifying body lists that I mentioned already. As well, StatCan has a census of agriculture that runs every 5 years, and they've started recently publishing a little bit of data around organics. And then we also had the StatCan Fruits and Vegetables Survey, which also recently started publishing historical estimates for fruit and vegetable organics. Erica talked a little bit about the National Organic Survey. When we first started AskAgriWise, this was, like she mentioned, a membership survey to kind of fill in data gaps that they had identified, and has now turned into the National Organic Survey, which I think Sammy dropped a link to in the chat if you're interested in seeing what that looks like. And we were brought awareness to the USDA integrity database as well as a data source that's already public around organics. Obviously not a Canadian data source, but publishes data about organics. Organic operators in Canada. And then we also, I previously worked at StatCan, and so I have a little bit of information about, very little bit of information about a lot of different products at StatCan. So I thought that there were maybe some chances that we could potentially pull together some linkages or leverage, some custom tabulations at StatCan to create more data for ourselves to publish in AskAgriWise. So I put out some feelers to the labor force survey to see if there was any sort of indicator around labor in organics specifically. That didn't pan out. I didn't get any response on this one. The consumer price index and the producer price index, I thought would be another route that we could take a look at organics specifically, tracking the prices of organics, not just the overall agricultural commodities. That one also, StatCan doesn't seem to quite have the capabilities to track the organic level product yet, so that one didn't quite pan out. And we also talked to a market research organization, Argus. They have an Argus Open Markets where they report on agriculture and organics. And while I think there's maybe potential for future partnerships there, it wasn't quite the information that we were hoping to get for AskAgriWise at this phase. So what did we actually put into AskAgriWise? What actually is in there now? So just an overview of what these data sets look like. So we do have our import-export data, which Ontario Organics receives monthly from AAFC, which is created from a StatCan product. The data period of information that's available from that is 2021 to current day. It gets sent monthly, and so it is a period that is actually pretty current, which is nice. The Ontario milk data is sent monthly from the Dairy Farmers of Ontario, and the same thing, we have about 4 years of data that are aggregated monthly. We have our Census of Agriculture, which unfortunately happens every 5 years, and we are currently in a census year. So the most up-to-date information from the Census of Agriculture is actually from 2021. But after the census is collected this year, we expect that there will be new data published sometime next year. So we'll also have 2026 organics data from the Census of Agriculture. We have the Fruits and Vegetable Survey, which goes from 2019 to 2024. And this is a StatCan product that publishes farm gate value and acreage estimates for specifically organics, fruits, and vegetables. So that unfortunately excludes, other types of organics and crops, but it's specific to fruits and vegetables. Our National Organic Survey, which we've talked a little bit about already, that started last year. We've got our certified operators list that I talked about the automation process. We were able to acquire data from specifically the certifying bodies listed here. So we have data from ProCert, EcoCert, Fraser Valley, OCIA, OPAM, OCQV, PAX, QAI, and Seeds Canada, or Seeds Institute of Canada. I think they're going by Seeds Canada now, but and all of this data has been pulled into, and we've done our best to kind of consolidate it and do our best at some level of standardization into like one kind of giant certified operators data source. And finally, to add context on top of some of the data that we've collected, we've pulled in some natural disaster related data, which is published through Open Data Canada, data sets that are originally owned by AAFC and National Resource Canada. And we've aggregated drought, fire, and flood data to kind of give an general estimate, very rough estimate of regions that experience these challenges. And this is a data set that we put as a map layer. So you'll see when I do the demo a little bit how we incorporated that into AskAgriWise. And finally, we pulled in to the AskAgriWise AI chatbot, the Canadian Organic Standards and other organic reference documentation, so that we were able to build an AI chatbot to be searchable when you have questions about organic standards and certification in Canada. So some of the more specific challenges, which Erica again touched on a little bit, that we experienced during the whole data process for AskAgriWise is, and I'm sure this is a surprise to no one, there's a lack of organic specific data right now in Canada. So specifically with our StatCan, exploration, StatCan, we had conversations, with StatCan, and they very much operate in silos. So on top of, the lack of availability of, the organics data, there's also a limited awareness of the folks at StatCan of organics data that already exists or could exist, like the possibilities for organics data, and what even the acquisition pathways would look like if we were to, pursue that further. So that there's a struggle of, being outsiders of, this government governing body that like holds the data, and they're not quite maybe the conversations we were having seemed to kind of show a lack of understanding of how we could move forward with even our custom requests. So on top of that, I touched on this, but no organic specific tracking for labor price indexes that we know of. And we were pointed very helpfully by, some of the conversations that we had to agricultural portals and data sources that might have, organic data, but they didn't end up having organic specific data. Lots of agricultural data, but no organic specifics. So, for example, if you're thinking, Maya, have you heard of Connect ON or Connect On? Yes, I have. There's no organic data there. Another data challenge is cost. So when chatting with StatCan about potential for exploring, what is possible with the data that they have, we were quoted quite a high amount to, work with them on getting access to essentially what they call a special business project to explore the opportunities that already exist within existing StatCan data for organics, which is pretty inaccessible, I would say, for a nonprofit organization like Ontario Organics and any organic council or operator that would be looking for more information. And then there are some paid market reports that exist by various different market, research organizations or organic organizations. But of course, that presents an ongoing access cost as well if it's, for example, an annual market, report or a quarterly market report, and you either have to have a membership, subscribe, or purchase, the report one-off. There's a lack of standardization across these data sets. We talked a little bit about how the certifying bodies are actively working towards the standardization of the reporting, but their published operator lists don't currently reflect the standardization of products or other categories. And in general, in a lot of our conversations with partners and things like that, there is a level of uncertainty around data sharing right now, and ambiguity around like data sharing agreements and permissions and things like that. And some partners are hesitant to formalize that sharing arrangements, which is understandable in our, in when we have such a small amount of data, people are not 100% sure what they want to do with it, because it's very valuable. That said, in terms of future potential sources of data, I have identified, like I said, we're in a census year, so there will be new Census of Agriculture data in 2026. There is potential for purchasing of market reports, or I think the most fruitful of the three options here are future data partnerships and relationship building with people who collect data or are starting to collect data in the organics, and hopefully ongoing partnerships and conversations of people we've already been talking to after having published a version 1 of AskAgriWise, proving value and saying, this is going to be really powerful for people in the organic sector, and it could be even more powerful if we were able to bring it, all together. So that's just, a little overview about the data process. If you have any questions about anything, I'll make sure that I leave a little bit of time about questions for the data at the end, but I do want to make sure that I get to the demo of the of AskAgriWise as well. So if I don't get to your specific question by the time I finish the demo, also feel free to email me to answer any specific questions about the data. And I'm just going to quickly stop sharing to switch to AskAgriWise. Erica, was there anything you wanted to talk about before I do the demo? I'm not sure if you wanted to touch on anything before that.
No, I think you did a great job. I think the only resource you actually missed was FieldWatch, and I think
Thank you.
that's an
Yes, I
important
did miss
resource to,
FieldWatch.
to
Yeah,
mention. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah. FieldWatch is a resource. They track the spraying of pesticides, um, like on a geographic map. Okay. So I have the actual AskAgriWise open here. And this is our homepage, where we just give you an overview of the kind of the themes that we organized our data sets into, and the best way to, I think, to kind of view them as kind of a whole thing. So we have our Canadian Organic Producers page, which outlines the data that we've collected from the various certifying bodies in Canada. We map it and kind of have tried to show an overview of all the different certified operators in Canada that we were able to collect. This also includes our climate-related data that we pulled in. We also have organics at a glance, which is where we're pulling in kind of that higher level data from the various bodies that are sharing data with us or that we've been able to collect from open data portals. So that's the Census of Agriculture, the Fruits and Vegetable Survey, that's the import-export data, the organic milk data, and hopefully eventually we'll have a few more other things to add there. We also have the organics community data, which this is the data that's provided through the National Organic Survey. And this will give an overview of what the community is saying about their, their situation in organics right now. And finally, we have the AskAgriWise AI chatbot, which helps you ask questions about getting certified or being certified organic in Canada. So I'm just going to start at Canadian Organic Producers and walk you through it from there. So this page, like I said, contains a map showing the all the different certified operators in, well, not all of the ones in Canada, but the ones that we were able to collect from the certifying bodies. So you can see here we have some drop-down menus which allow you to filter the data, which I'll play around with in a second. But we allow you to filter the data by province, by the specific certifying body, and by products. So I'll talk a little bit about this products list. So we had a first, version of the suggested standard product list that the certifying bodies are aiming to be reporting, aligning their reporting with. So what we've done with the actual data that's coming in from the certifying bodies is we've tried our best to map those products that are published on their websites to that standard product list. However, there is thousands, maybe millions of variations of how products are being reported right now. And so there's always the chance that there's inconsistencies, things that we missed, the mapping is not quite correct. And so if you're looking at a specific certified operator, you can see here in the directory down below, I've actually published the raw text that is coming from the certifying bodies for the products that are that operator is that has certified. So you can see, we've got the certifiers in Quebec are reporting in French in general. So we've tried our best to map the French products to the standard English list. Every certifying body reports things a little differently. So if I scroll down to get away from things in Quebec, you can see just a very large difference in the way that things are reported. I'm going to try and find it. Here we go. So this certifying body shows their kind of the subcategory of their product in parentheses, where others are putting them after semicolons, which sounds very like, well, what difference does that make? But we have to consider all the different variations of how a product shows up in the data and try to map it to, this general product of, for example, maple syrup and sugar bushes and things like that. So this was actually quite a big undertaking, and I think it's like something small that you don't look at when you look at this, product. If you ever have any questions or you ever notice that like something looks a little off with that data, we have a little bit of information here about the data that's on this page, and we're always able to make corrections and hopefully improve that process eventually. So when we scroll down to the bottom here, I've showed you already a little bit about the province. When you see blanks here, it's blank because some of the certifying bodies we don't get any product lists from. Same thing with the province. Sometimes the data is incomplete. Erica touched on this a little bit in her part. For the most part, these larger certifiers, we have geographic data for. You can see when the bubbles are larger, it just means that there's more than one certified operator within that location. And it's often because you'll see on the map that there's like, well, if I click on it, you'll see that these specific operators are all certified within that location. Which is why it is, there's we say there's 4 certifications in that location. We also have completely, have some summaries here showing just the general number of certifications of data that we have, the provinces that those are located in, as well as just a product count, an overall product count. So flipping to our next page, which is our organics at a glance. This is, like I said, where we've kind of displayed the various open data set, or not open data sets, aggregate data sets that we have regarding organics right now. Again, you have the ability to filter by province and year. I didn't show you the filtering process on the last page, so I'll just do it here. So if we specifically wanted to look at this data for Ontario, we could apply that filter, and you can see the data here has changed so that you're able to take a look at what these numbers look like specifically for Ontario. And the same thing for if you have a specific year time period that you're interested in looking at. Because all of this data comes from different sources, we have information about each data source at the top that you're able to take a look at if you have any questions about what things mean. For example, farm gate value, I think, is not a super, widely known term, at least for me, as someone who, doesn't work in organics usually. I've had some questions about farm gate value. So the definition is here, which is farm gate value of production refers to the net value of a farm's production as it leaves for the market after selling costs have been subtracted. So we show you a little bit about that information at an aggregate and also over time. The same thing with our import and export data. You're able to see that Ontario specifically has an overall average monthly value of 700,000 imports for all organics, and our exports, our average monthly value of exports is 1 million, around 1 million. And you can see that how that number changes over time, as well as specifically the total value that we have imported and exported by country. The last things that we have on display here are Ontario organic milk production. If you filter this page by any other province, unfortunately, it is blank because it's, from the organic farmers of Ontario. Yes. I said that right. Okay. And so we've got our average amount of milk produced monthly and the percent of that milk that is organic, as well as showing that that over time. And finally, Manitoba Organics has a wonderful, product for showing grain pricing at a national level. So right now we link out to that so that if you have any questions about organic grain pricing, you're able to access that through here. Finally, and I won't go through every single page on here because there's quite a bit of information here because Ontario Organics collects quite a bit of information across a lot of different themes in their National Organic Survey. But we have the summary of the survey responses here. And we try to highlight, specifically who in the community is responding to this survey so that we have an idea of like the rest of the data, who is actually providing the information. So you can see, as Erica said, right now, a lot of the responses are from Ontario, but as the survey is disseminated across Canada, of course, those numbers will go up in the other provinces as well. Mainly farmers that are responding to the survey and the age groups of the people responding, as well as their characteristics. So how many of the operators are female, are new farmers, or are family operators, for example. We have information here about crops and production, and all of this data is again filterable by province, as well as certification status. So whether you're certified in transition, not certified, or you were previously certified, and the farm age as well. So how old is the operation? We highlight the questions around how big the farm is, the acreage use, the type of farm, and the crops that are produced by that farm. And I'll show the market and sales piece as well. So you can see how the respondents to the survey are selling their products, whether they're doing any trade, import, export, and what time of year those sales are happening. I'm going to leave the last 2 pages as a mystery, so you have an opportunity to go click around in it yourself. And also, just being aware of time, I want to make sure we have a little bit of time to wrap things up. But the last thing I'll show you is our AskAgriWise AI chatbot. So this is a chatbot that we've put together to query specifically the Canadian organic standards. So if you're wondering what kind of questions you might want to ask this chatbot or what you could ask it, we have some examples here. And with any AI product, you want to be aware that the responses may not always be accurate and complete. So make sure you check it out yourself if you aren't sure. But for example, if we ask it what labeling requirements apply to organic products in Canada, it's going to think about the response a little bit. And it's going to let us know the summary response. Labeling requirements for organics products in Canada include certification, specific claim wording, and compliance with general labeling principles. And the details of that being that organic products in Canada must be certified by the CFIA accredited certifying body, et cetera, et cetera. I won't read you the whole response. And realistically, many of you are already familiar with this, but you're also able to check this out yourself. It'll let you know where that information is coming from. So yeah, I just want to pass it back to Erica to wrap things up before I take some questions. And if we end up running out of time for questions again, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to respond. Is it just me or is Erica muted? Maybe it's my headphones. Oh, Erica, I do think you're muted. Yeah.
All right, I should be there now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, what I was saying is this was a huge project and incredibly thankful to Maya and Daniel didn't get introduced there, but he was is the owner, I believe. Is that the appropriate term, Daniel, for Purpose Analytics? And yeah, just working with not-for-profits on these exact projects. And Maya coming in with her experience from StatsCan has been invaluable as well. Just one of the things to mention, what we've been learning from our survey at least, is that people are really wanting information about prices, labor data, suppliers, yields, and better sourcing tools. So those are some of the things that we're hearing a lot about. And as Maya mentioned, some of that later labor data is not necessarily available for StatsCan, and I think the national survey is going to help fill in those gaps until we start getting some better information from that. And then yeah, we just understand that there's a lot of business decision making tools that are coming from this as well. In terms of what's coming next, so we knew we didn't actually have a whole lot of money for this project, and the amount of work that we actually accomplished with a very limited budget was impressive. It was the start of our only deliverable was to make an organic data portal, and we've obviously gone way above and beyond it. So we knew version one was just going to be a lot more simple and we didn't have the data sets, and we also just didn't have the budget to make all the things. But within the budget that was done, amazing work from Purpose Analytics. And so what you're seeing today, it's just the beginning, and we wanted to prove it was possible and also to demonstrate where those gaps are so that we can go and have those conversations with those national bodies to say, hey, if we had this data, we could do so much more with it. And these are the stories we could tell. These are the questions that we could answer. And that's really important for us to be able to go there with something that is more real and not just an idea to have those conversations. And so what we've learned is that there is a lot of potential for moving forward. So obviously, based on what people want, we know we need market intelligence and access to organic pricing information across Canada. And we want to integrate more pricing from the commodity board. So where all the provinces are able to get those like we have the milk prices for Ontario. And we want to see what the trends are, where there's shortages, where there's market opportunities in pricing movement before it happens. And that intelligence is actually really important for producers, processors, buyers, and policymakers. And the platform itself, we want to keep expanding. Better search functionality is a huge one, and we know right now it's very basic, and we definitely want to expand on that and get more information there. And we want to be able to search again across other data sets, so not just necessarily what's coming in from the certifier bodies, but also from those surveys and from all of the other pieces that are coming into us from other organizations. And we want to add certified organic input listings, processor directories, supplier connections, and then we're also developing welcome guides right now for the organic industry for people that are coming into organics or already into organics. And those will include things for like where to find producer clubs and what you can use when you have certain problems and what it takes to be organic. And once we have those will be integrated into AskAgriWise as well. And then, of course, the biggest piece that Maya alluded to is that standardization. And really, because reporting is so inconsistent, we really want to start, standardizing that even more and aligning that across the industry so that it can be useful over time. And the big part is these partnerships. And so, for example, the Grain Hub, we weren't able to negotiate an MOU with them to actually bring that data set on live right onto the site. So you are having to go out to that right now, but we would really, we're happy to potentially pay for data if we need to so that it's all in one place. And so we have to work with organizations such as that and maybe Argus that will allow us to bring even more data that's accessible in one place. And then in terms of the future facing side, as Maya mentioned, there is a USDA organic integrity database, and we'd like to also create the same thing here in Canada, which will improve transparency, verification, and trust within the sector over time. We've already basically got the beginning of it here, and we want to build on that over time as well. And the AI tools right now, we've been very careful, and I don't know if you really got from Maya that this is not searching the entire internet when you have a question. It is only using um, the Canadian Organic Standards and COGS question and answer and the CFI pages. So it is limited in scope, and it's not doing a lot of explaining, right? It's more leading you there. Ideally, it would, click and go right to where you need it to, and we don't have that quite yet, but we're hoping to have that in the future. And then also where we can use it to answer the other questions like who are the organic oat processors in Western Canada? And you can just ask it and it would just pull those up. And so those are the kinds of things that we can see that AI chatbot being useful in the future. So because the biggest things this project revealed in the organic sector is that we're sitting on an enormous amount of untapped knowledge and data. Really, it's about building the infrastructure, the partnerships, the trust, and that collaboration over the next several years um, to make this something that continues to grow and serve the organic industry all the way across Canada. And so with that, I'm going to open the floor to questions and stop my share here. Do we have any questions?
No questions. I just think this was mind blowing. It was awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I know a lot of time and research has gone in this for you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. I cannot even tell you how much time has gone into it, but we are thrilled with where we landed. I will say, I'm sure Maya and Daniel agree. We never imagined we would end up like with as much information that we were able to share with everyone as we did, and that has actually been very thrilling. So, yeah. Marty, did I see you come off mute there?
No, I was just saying, that was just a yay,
Oh.
Carolyn. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So
Um, I have a Desiree DM me question. I hope that she doesn't mind me sharing, but I figured I may as well just like address it since we're here. Which is that the import export section can be confusing because when you filter for all the provinces in 2025, the average monthly import is like $400,000 ish, but the total value is 1.7 billion. And yeah, that's a product of the monthly aggregation of the data because we're doing an average. So we're showing like the average monthly, like essentially like we're saying like on average, what were the monthly exports like over 2025? But when you like sum up everything that was imported, it is like that large number. And we've actually identified that as kind of like a confusing metric already. So I'm planning on just showing the total rather than doing the average monthly imports, just showing the total. And that way those numbers will make more sense when you look at them next to each other. Because it's not quite straightforward.
Maya, I think Desiree's question came in while we were on the directory producers. Am I right, Desiree? Did that question come in a little bit earlier and then she was on to the next one?
Oh, did I miss something?
No, I actually answered me in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, there was a second question where yeah, yeah.
I thought of something that often bothers me when I go to stores like Goodness Me, Fiddleheads in Kitchener. but any organic store, especially when you want to buy in a package or bulk, that I can't find some dry goods like navy beans, et cetera, different beans for cooking. And this is an issue with me because I take a bus and I live in Kitchener Waterloo, and it's like you can go to all these stores and you just can't find it. So is this going to change in the future? And the stores that you go into, I mean, even Fennings, I have to be careful when I go into Fennings because it's not all organic.
Yeah,
Boom.
I think Carolyn, you're definitely touching on something that's really important. And right now, Ask AgriWise is not really eater focused at the moment. We do have a directory on the Ontario Organic site that has like where things are located, but it doesn't ever have what's in stock, what you can actually find there, and updating that in real time. And I think that's a hard problem because even
Mm,
stores, you order something and they're like, oh, this is almost out of stock. And then it's actually out of stock. Like it is having coordination at a grocery level of products is difficult, and especially with organic products. I think I understand. Um, yeah, I can see where it's really hard, but I think that sounds like a really large project to me to kind of figure that out. What do you think, Daniel? Is that like, have you done anything similar to that in the past?
No, but I can think of like an example of a retailer, like a retail sector that does have that, but I think it's because there's a lot of consolidation. A lot of bicycle stores use the same kind of warehouse, and they have like the same products, and you can tell what's in the store and what's in the warehouse. But it's because there's only really a couple of these platforms, and everyone's on the same product. So
oh, okay.
you can imagine that it would be, as Erica said, it's difficult for stores sometimes to be accurate with what they actually have in stock, never mind what's arriving and what it looks like when it gets on the shelves.
Yeah, it would be really great information for us to have though, and definitely
Yeah.
live know what's being sold and
Well,
demand,
yeah,
right?
at least maybe to know like who where their suppliers are. Maybe the stock, what the inventory is a more complicated problem, but that distribution list would be an interesting um,
Yeah.
dot to connect.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking we had our post-harvest organic sector meeting earlier today, and like Yorkshire Valley Farms was on there, and it would be nice maybe on the directory to have you can find this in these places in Canada, in these provinces, and you could actually do some searching if you're looking for those particular products. That would be really, really helpful. So we can maybe, definitely move towards making it easier to find products. And yeah, that's some really good feedback. All right. Do we have any other questions? No? All right. And it looks like there's some questions in the chat, and it looks like Rob even gave some feedback about an axis there. I just want to make sure Maya had seen that. Before we sign off for the day, we just want to talk. I just want to share just two more slides, I think. And all right. So, can you guys see those slides?
We see the what's next slide. Oh, now the upcoming webinar slide.
Perfect. All right. So we're not just all about making cool tools. We also have a lot of learning opportunities and getting out on farms. And so we're hoping you can also join us for some future conversations and experiences that we'll be having over the next few months. So May 20th, next week is World Bee Day Pollinator Celebration. And yeah, you guys know, if maybe you don't know, but bees are my thing. And I've been a honeybee researcher for about 16 years, so I'm always excited about Bee Day. We also have our different series that are happening weekly. So we have the Market Garden Diaries, the talking with retailers. We have a stroll out at the Hoover's Maple Syrup Organic Farm happening May 26th. Tools and Farm Solutions coming up on June 8th, and Reaping What She Sows, How Women Are Rebuilding Our Broken Food System with Nancy Matsumoto on June 9th. So if you want to register for any of those, the QR code is there, and of course on our website as well. And just to let you know, we are in our second year of our Feed on Farms tours, and we'll have that schedule coming up soon. But if you want to get people out on your farm, please reach out to us so we can do that with you. And finally, uh, we are a not-for-profit grassroots organization, and all the things that we do is thanks to you. And so we hope that you're a member. And if you're not a member, we would love you to become a member. And we have memberships. They're not very expensive for all sorts of levels. So for our advocates, those people who just love what we're doing, and also for our producers, businesses, associations. And we also we haven't done the official announcement, but we have a charity that it just became incorporated on Earth Day this year. So we're super excited about that. And our organic impact partners who are sharing 0.1% of all of their earnings with Ontario Organic to build up the industry are coming in. And we're just super excited to be bringing on more organic impact partners to make Ontario Organics a stronger organization. And finally, uh, if you want to explore Ask AgriWise, there's a QR code there. I think Sammy's already dropped probably a couple times into that. You can share your data with us, and you can actually get involved. So there's lots of ways that you can be a part of what we're doing here at Ontario Organic. And just a huge thanks again. I can't say enough thanks to Maya and Daniel for their hard work on this project, and the way that it's come together has been just fantastic, and we truly appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. We hope that we see you at some future webinars or in-person events. And thank you so much. Have a great one.
Thanks, everyone.